How do we humans accomplish the goals in your life? It's a good question to ask ourselves. And I'm not talking about the small goals here like paying rent or buying food. There's no one watching this that hasn't figured out how to get a job. And I'm also not talking about the goals like how to run your first marathon or how to lose weight or how to learn a new skill. But I am talking about the big, loftier, and frankly more expensive and expansive goals like putting your kids through the school you really want to put them through, or living where you really want to live, or having the lifestyle of freedom and self-expression that you really want. Even the idea of just being able to take off for a couple of months and do the kind of traveling you've always wanted. Those kinds of goals. How do you accomplish those? And how has anyone accomplished those goals? I'm going to contend that if you have a career, let's say you're a yoga teacher or a therapist or a corporate trainer or a lawyer or an accountant or a tradesman or really anything, an office manager, or you're in some kind of classic sales position and you've been doing it for at least a couple of years, at some point you do a very interesting thing. You do the math. You start doing the math of how many hours you can work each week and what that will buy you in terms of those big life goals. You do that math and you realize that you can only work so many extra Saturdays, you can only get so many raises, you really can only charge so much for your time and expertise in your particular profession before you reach a ceiling and before you get completely burned out. There is only so much income you can create with that platform, that job. This is a very interesting aha or turning point that is critical for anyone interested in examining this question. How do I accomplish the big goals in my life? Because it makes you realize you cannot trade enough time for enough money. It just doesn't work that way. There is a limit to the job game. There's a limit to the income vehicle called a job in terms of earning this method of trade that we call money. Now, there are a few options we have once we reach that particular insight, once you do the math. The first is you can keep dreaming, but with no game plan of action for accomplishing those big goals. The second way is you can lower the expectations. You think, well, I've done the math and it just doesn't add up. I'm going to have to give up on those goals, or at least some of them. I'd like to point out another way, and it's the way anyone throughout history has figured out how to get beyond a job's wage. And that way is through a concept called leveraging. Leverage is this idea of doing something once or creating something or building something once and then benefiting from the results for weeks and months and years, far beyond the time it took to actually create it. Let's say you were an author, for instance, and a year ago you wrote a book. Let's say it's on outdoor gazebos. You love gazebos. You know how to build them. You know a ton about them. And you realize at one point you're kind of an expert on the subject. Now, that book took you 5 months of hard work to write. During that 5 months, you actually didn't get paid anything for the hours you put into it. And in fact, there was no guarantee that it would sell. But you had something to say and you got the book done. Okay, it's now a year later. Every time that book sells on Amazon, you experience leverage. You experience the residual effect, in this case it's money, on something you did last year, and you earn it over and over and over again. This year, next year, for many years to come. There are a couple of ways in modern life to leverage something that you do, something that you created or started that helps you move beyond the treadmill of traditional trading time for money. Being an author, being a musician, selling your songs. You can even do it through owning property and then, renting out the apartments, for instance. The fascinating thing with leveraging is that, like all things, what you leverage naturally finds its audience. And in fact, it naturally finds its non-audience. For instance, I may not be interested in your book because I've got no interest in gazebos, and maybe even the large majority of people that you and I know, they're just not interested in gazebos. But that doesn't matter because enough people are. And that's how all leveraged things in information and goods works. They naturally find their audience. They naturally find their network of people who can't wait to have what you offer. Back to jobs for just a second. A job can be awesome. It can be a great source of passion, and you may love what you do. And it is actually a great way for covering the bills, for learning new skills, and I'm not suggesting that you quit yours, quite the contrary. But I am suggesting this: a job is not an effective way of accomplishing your bigger, loftier goals, because you cannot trade enough time for enough money. There's simply a limit to how many hours you can work or how many more clients you can add. The other thing with a job is that when you stop working, you stop earning. So once a person gets this insight, figuring out how to leverage you in your life is the big question. And everyone has to figure that out. Everyone has to figure out what that is. You want to figure out how to leverage something, what you do, what you say, who you know, conversations you have, things you do, products you recommend, something that puts you into a stream, a network, a flow of information or goods or services that compensate you long after you started doing it for years and years and years to come. It's what those of us involved in Alphay are doing. By using Alphay's products, we place ourselves into their network and their commission structure. We also join a growing number of people who have read about the amazing health benefits of Lingji and the other medicinal mushrooms and have personally experienced the benefits from them. Allergies, immunity, vast improvement in sleep, improved skin, sense of calm, mental focus, lots of things. Now, Alphay's products aren't sold in stores. They're only sold through word of mouth. We users are their sole marketing method. And every time that word of mouth spreads, Alphay compensates us for spreading the word. Every week, we actually get a check for doing it. It's our personal way of entering the leverage world, of leveraging what we have learned and moving beyond the incomes of our jobs so that we too can accomplish those bigger goals in life. Now, in the Western world, Alphay is tiny at this point, so hardly anyone knows about us. But that's part of the appeal to us because we're at the beginning. And we see what medicinal mushrooms can do for our bodies. And we believe that this is the start of a very large movement in human health. They're very potent formulas. And those of us involved have a superb training system that show people and show your people how to do this. And the best part of it is that by the very nature of its design, we're all helping each other. It's like a home-based business, but we're a community that work towards helping you succeed. Like gazebos, using Alphay may not be for you. It may not be your means of leveraging your time and personal experience into a network. But talk to someone who's involved. See if it's right for you. Thanks for watching this.